Everyone remembers their first time in a dining hall. The lights, the options, the variety of food, all surrounding you. Compared to high school, this is heaven on earth. And all these options, all these foods, just for the low price of $3,000. Hold on, is my university scamming me? Well, to figure this out, we're going to be looking at the predatory practices that universities participate in when dealing with dining halls. And specifically, we're going to see how dining halls are really a monopoly and how schools use this to exploit students for more money. Now, before we get through that, let's define what is a monopoly. A monopoly exists when a single firm or provider dominates a market with no close substitutes. Now let's elaborate on that. There's a couple key characteristics that monopolies have. First is that they're a single seller. There's only one provider for the entire market they're selling to. Next is high barriers to entry. So even if other companies wanted to join in, they can't really do it easily. And other businesses, one way or another, fail to try to get into the market. The next characteristic is the company is a price maker. This is that the company can set prices without concern for competitors. This means that no matter how high the company raises their prices on their goods, consumers will have to buy it because there's no other options in the market. Now, let's see how dining halls fit into this definition. First is the single seller. Now, usually dining halls are the only large-scale food option on campus. College campuses are usually full of other businesses. These are usually small-scale and cannot handle the capacity of all the student population, which is why companies like Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts usually occupy those spaces for quick grab-and-go options that are coffee-based or snack-based. Now, outside of campus, there's much more options, but it is usually too far or inaccessible to people who are living on campus, especially if students do not have cars. Next are high barriers to entry. Universities often own the land they are on, so they usually occupy a large space either in a city or a town. This means they have control over anything that goes on inside that property, so universities can effectively not allow competition inside its campus facilities. This means that even if there are companies that do have the capacity to feed the student population, they're not even allowed to step on campus. And when you think about it, universities even limit a lot more options that students can do themselves. Stuff like kitchens aren't included in regular residence halls. These residence halls, again, are provided by the university and probably are made like that to restrict food options to students on campus so that their only option is to buy from the dining hall. If universities were truly invested in giving the students as much freedom as possible to make their own decisions and learn how life is in the future, they would give them the option of having a kitchen and cooking for themselves. But instead, they have to make the most roundabout way of trying to get students to pay the most money they can. And this leads into the price maker aspect of the monopoly. Universities, since they have no other competition, can set meal prices with little to no pressure to lower them, since students have no competitive alternatives. They also know that students on campus have to participate in buying a meal plan. With a guaranteed customer base, they can set prices as exorbitantly high as they want. And this guaranteed customer base that universities have are also inflicted to even more predatory practices, like meal plans are being required for certain students, forcing them to pay no matter the price. I've experienced this myself. First-year students at my university who are living in residence halls are forced to buy a 210 meal plan, which is usually way too high for most students, and they usually end up wasting it. But still, semester after semester, they're forced to pay that $3,000 that meal plan is. But again, there's no checks and balance in the system. Universities corner their market on themselves. There's no other competition but themselves. And to limit choices of students even more, after the first 2 weeks of a student having a meal plan, they are not allowed to downgrade their meal plan or even cancel it. So even if 3 or 4 weeks in, you realize you're not eating as much as you thought to, and you can buy some food off campus and you know how much you can budget, you're not allowed to cancel your meal plan and are stuck into it for the whole 14-week semester. But don't worry, if you want to give more money to the university for your meal plan, you can do that anytime. Now, let's look at some of the more predatory practices it participates in. First is the overpriced meal plans. My school has a meal plan system which allows you to buy a bulk amount of meals at the start of semester, and you swipe into the dining hall throughout the semester to use them up. If we look at the options the university has on its website, we can see that the meal plans range from $50 to $285. If we divide it out, we can see the price per meal of every meal plan. And we can see that compared to the normal prices of the dining hall, if I go there without a meal plan, these discounts are barely anything. And not to mention, spending $15 or $12 a meal for some students is not viable. If we look at my school's most popular meal plan, which is the 210 meals, we can see that there are $15 per meal. Now, if a student eats a normal amount, which is 3 times a day, they're spending over $45 a day on just meals. And for some students, this is just not viable. And not to mention, with what I said before, students are locked into these meal plans. So even if they figure this out later on, it's too late and they cannot get out of it. But even the way these meal plans are priced makes you think that, oh, you're getting a deal. As you can see with some of the prices, they don't seem too dissimilar with each other, but you get 50 more meals or 30 more meals. They want to disguise their scamming by making it seem like an actual deal. And this lack of transparency is not something you would expect from an educational institution. Okay, maybe if this was from some big food conglomerate, I would expect this more. But from an educational institution doing this to students who are paying money for not only tuition, to scam them on their food, the most basic human need, really is unjustifiable. And the thing is, when you go to college, you come to expect these types of practices everywhere you go. Whether it's from the mandatory book buyings you have in classes, or the random fees that you pay on your term bill when you're paying for tuition. The American college system is a business, and students are their customers. Colleges take advantage of these students transitioning into adulthood, promising them an education, a chance to better themselves, but really leaving them with overpriced food, absorbent prices, and debt that lasts them a generation. So the next time you walk around campus and see that shiny new business building or the multi-million-dollar football stadium, just think, how many of those dollars could go into your education?